Minutes. I'm told Doug does not think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. I do, and here is why. There's a lot of different ways to get into the Hall of Fame. I'll give you an example. In baseball, Craig Biggio makes it because he was a compiler. He often was not, probably more years than not. Craig Biggio was not. Craig was not the best. I watched him play minor league baseball, by the way, in Tucson, Arizona. He was a catcher/second baseman. He's a hell of a baseball player. But he was never the best baseball player on his own team for more than half his career. But he compiled a lot of stats, played for a long time, and he was a very, very good guy. He gets in. And then there's Sandy Koufax, who didn't compile anything. He had 5 great years, not even just a half a decade. And he gets in. And then you go to basketball. Casey Jones averaged 7 points a game, but he had 8 championships. He gets in. He's relevant. Charles Barkley doesn't have any championships, didn't have a lot of great playoff runs, but his personality, his style, his regular season points and flair, he gets in. There's a lot of different ways to get into Hall of Fames. Eli Manning, think about this way. Hall of Fames are about historical relevance. You cannot tell the story of the NFL without Eli, the greatest football family in America, the Manning family, without Eli. You can't tell the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady's story, without Eli. You can't tell the greatest dynasty in the NFL history, New England, without Eli. You can't tell Belichick's story without Eli. Eli is historically relevant. There's so many stories. You cannot tell the story of the Patriots, Brady, Belichick, Super Bowls. He has the craziest completion in Super Bowl history to David Tyree. And there's been some wacky ones. That's the craziest one, super glue to the helmet. There's like 9 stories in the NFL you can't tell without Eli Manning. There's a lot of good What about Jim Plunkett? Jim Plunkett, you can tell the story of the NFL without Jim. Jim is also not 7th all-time in touchdown passes and 7th all-time in yards thrown for. The longevity, and people say, well, the name helps him. New York helps him. Yes, playing in New York helped Derek Jeter. And being a Manning probably helped Eli. But beyond that, they both played in New York. They both won multiple titles. They were often the most valuable person in those championships in the most high-pressure, intense American sports city, New York City. I can't blame you. If your dad and mom had a little money and gave you $1 million when they passed away, but you go on to have a great life, I can't hold it against you. I would have loved to have had that. Now, if you end up being a meth addict, I can bang on you because you did have a start in life. But if you didn't have anything from your parents and were successful, and your buddy did have and was successful, I'm not going to ding him for it. Not everybody goes to the New York Yankees. But Jeter took advantage of being a New York Yankees. They've had a lot of average shortstops and a lot of average second basemen. And yes, it probably helps being Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's brother. But guess what? He still beat Belichick, and he beat Brady, and he beat the greatest dynasty, and he had the craziest catch. And if you go back, I did last night, don't revisionist history. Don't look at Eli's last 4 years and judge him. You go back and watch Eli 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year in the league. He had a better arm than Peyton. He was durable. He could take shots. He was a great road quarterback, unlike Aaron Rodgers. He had a great arm. He was great in the 2-minute drill. He was a great come-from-behind quarterback. He was a clutch quarterback. Again, there's a lot of ways to make Hall of Fame. Sandy Koufax, 5 great years. Craig Biggio compiles. Charles Barkley, personality. Karl Malone, stats, no titles. Casey Jones, 7 points a game. Draymond Green may get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's not very highly skilled, and he's very lucky to have played with the best backcourt ever, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. There's not one entrance. There's a lot of side doors into Hall of Fames. Meadowlark Lemon is in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. There are officials in the Basketball Hall of Fame. There's a lot of doors to get in, and Eli's in for me. Doug Gottlieb, the Duggar, joining us. We talk Zion, disagree totally on that. Let's get to my argument about Hall of Fames is there's a lot of doors to get in. Biggio's a compiler, gets in. Sandy Koufax was literally great for 5 years. That's it, gets in. Casey Jones averaged 7 a game, 8 titles in. Charles Barkley, some of it was flamboyance, personality, had one really great playoff run, wasn't known as a good defender or a hard worker, but Charles gets in because he's, by the way, Karl Malone.
Look, Karl Malone's second all-time in scoring, I believe. Okay, and Charles Barkley was the best power forward in the league for a good 5 to 10 year stretch, right? He was. So, look, the issue with Hall of Fames is that we have opened up to the Hall of Good. Sandy Koufax was the best pitcher in the league. Period. Stop.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. You know, the issue with the Biggios are he was good at everything he did, and he played for a long time.
Right.
And that's kind of Eli Manning. The only difference is he won 2 Super Bowls. But how much of win – and look, let's start by saying this. Eli Manning is going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay, so this is not a debate whether or not he will be.
Yeah.
It's more a question of should he be? Because he's Eli, because he won 2 Super Bowls, he did it in New York, he's going to get in.
Right.
But would you say that your overall record, not in a small sample size of a couple of years, but overall record is at least a fair indication for what kind of quarterback you are?
Yes.
It's like Phillip Rivers, who's drafted same year, who's had some really lean years and has never had the postseason success of Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Better franchise for the last 15 years, Chargers or Giants?
Last 15 years, well, the Giants, because they won Super Bowls. So
okay.
Giants.
Phillip Rivers is 123 and 101. Eli Manning is 117 and 117. Matt Ryan is 109 and 80, 29 games above 500. Joe Flacco, who everybody thinks stinks, worse, Joe Flacco stinks. 98 and 73 as a starting quarterback. Alex Smith, captain checked out himself, who first 7 years was mired in constant change in San Francisco. 94, 66, and 1. So, look, he's going to get in because the Super Bowl is that big. Right?
Of course.
Like, look, Priest Holmes, Priest Holmes belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the same reason as Terrell Davis did, right? They both basically had 3 great years.
Right.
1 year where they led the league in rushing. I think they both led the league in touchdowns twice. The difference is Terrell Davis won 2 Super Bowls. Okay? Yeah. Priest Holmes did not. But he was the best running back in the league. Eli was never a top 5 quarterback, ever. And his teams consistently told you as much because the top 5 quarterbacks generally all win 10 11 games a year. Right. And otherwise, he wouldn't have a 500 record. And he's played for one of the best organizations in the sport.
Well, but again, it's where I don't judge things equally. I think, again, fourth quarter in the NBA is bigger than first.
Yes.
Playoffs and Super Bowl are bigger than regular season. Personality matters. I feel Barkley's given more to the league than other players who are Karl Malone.
Wait, so Eli has a personality?
No, I'm saying,
and look, the
Super
flash
Bowls.
in the pan Super Bowl quarterbacks. Look, I know Doug Williams only did it once, but Doug Williams is not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but he did it.
Joe Flacco has a better career record, won a Super Bowl, but is not Let's
just go to the Super Bowls. You can't tell the Belichick, Brady, New England, Manning,
right.
NFL, the Catch, Super Bowl. There's 9 stories in the NFL Super Bowl, which is by far and away the biggest game. Uh-huh. There's 9 stories you can't tell without Eli. He is so relevant to the history of the league.
But relevance is not does not a Hall of Famer make. A Hall of Famer should be the best of the best of the best. Well, and he was never the best of the best of the best.
That should be. We know that writers have voted guys in.
That's the discussion I'm having. I'm not saying whether or not he will be.
Right.
He will be. Because of you can't tell the story without, he threw it up and David Tyree caught it.
And then there was the Manningham throw.
Manningham was a great throw,
yeah.
Okay? But it followed Wes Welker's drop, right? And Giselle, I cannot do everything. Yeah. My husband cannot do everything.
But he made the throws.
He did make the throws.
And he was
but he's also he gets credit for, it's like, he gets credit for the fires that he started, putting out the fires that he started.
Well, I'll give you
they win the Super Bowl one year. They're 9 and 7.
I'll give you an example.
It had to go on a road. And by the way, he's only clutch when he wins because all the rest of the years they made the playoffs, they never won a game. The only years they won games when they won Super Bowls. It's the craziest bipolar stats ever.
I'll give you context on Priest Holmes. Here's a prime example. I've probably talked to 6 different NFL players. that say the Kansas City offensive line was not only the best in its time, it's the best ever. They also had the best blocking tight end. If you
Hold on.
So I'm no.
Hold on, wait,
no.
wait. The Denver Broncos had 7 straight 1,000-yard rushers that were like, I think 7 different guys.
With Mike Shanahan.
Right. And Terrell Davis was the running back. He was the best of them.
My whole point is context. The Super Bowl defines. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
You have to be Dan Marino to
No,
get in without the Super
better
Bowl.
way, right? Because we all look at John Elway and the early Super Bowls as John Elway choking. When the reality of it is, if you take a breath, he elevated a team that was very average, no defense, and somehow they found a way to beat Cleveland twice through miracles. John Elway's greatness got them to a Super Bowl, and then they got exposed in those Super Bowls, right? We overreact to Baltimore overreacted with the contract they gave to Joe Flacco. Larry Brown's big contract after he gets Neil O'Donnell throws him a couple balls and he wins Super Bowl MVP. We absolutely overreact to the biggest game.
Well, I mean, think about the regular season in the NFL. Belichick experiments with September. He just experiments with it. Many coaches, Tony Dungy's a Hall of Fame coach, rested players before the playoffs. We literally have parts of the NFL that we experiment in, like the NBA. I mean, it's largely understood, like defensive. I mean, you've probably talked to scouts about this.
You want to evolve into the summer. Tell me the thing that makes you think Aaron Rodgers is a bad leader.
We don't have time for it. I got a minute and a half left. I'm going to lead with it next hour. It's fascinating.
I miss it. I have to listen to it on the drive.
You don't think Zion or Eli are any good? So we argued.
I think Zion's going to be great. I'm still concerned he's going to get hurt.
No,
I think Eli was really, really good. I think it's hard to have a big brother who's a better player, but his big brother is a Hall of Famer, and Eli Manning's just a really good quarterback. That's the difference, right? Is he even in the stratosphere of Peyton Manning as quarterback?
Well, Peyton Manning.
Is he even? That's my question. Is he even in the stratosphere?
Yeah, because the 2 Super Bowls.
No, he is not. Because even Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl was a joke. He didn't do anything.
It's so hard to make it to a Super Bowl. He won 2 of them.
And by the
way,
I got it.
And he won a bunch of road games to get there, and then he faced the best team ever, and he beat them. The best offense
ever. They got their second chance in 4 weeks to beat him. They lost to him in the last regular season game.
He beat
I think
them.
you can make these arguments for literally every single career.
Is he in the stratosphere of Breeze, of Rodgers, of
yes, winning 2 Super Bowls puts him in that stratosphere.
As a player.
Yes.
No, he's not.
Way better
quarterback. He had to make those
of
throws.
Aaron Rodgers, of Drew Brees.
Way better arm than Breeze. Way better
He's not a better quarterback.
Way better leadership than Aaron Rodgers.
He's not a better quarterback.
Well, but they're all going to make it. I mean, there's always stratas in halls.
Eli's a great leader. Where's the leadership been recently? When Odell Beckham Jr. stepped out of line?
The problem was Ben McAdoo, bad GM.
It's always somebody else's problem. Always somebody else's
You're
fault.
like Aaron Rodgers'
a bunch
agent.
of other people's problems.
I mean, to me, we all know that everybody's not equal in Hall of Fames. There's
I'm saying what it should be, not what it will be.
Well, you got to have stratas in every institution.